If you have a penchant for events, Dawn ramping, and possibly the scariest devil fruit power in all of One Piece, well then Sugar's the one for you. No, but like seriously, that's like the scariest one. There could have been like a third Joy Boy the whole time and they're just like gone. We forgot about them because of Sugar, and that's... Anyways, if you're interested in playing this leader, here's everything you need to know. Sugar is a 4-life 5k power leader that has an end of turn effect that reads, if you have a Donquixote pirate type character with a power of 6k or more, set up to one of your Dawn as active. She also has a secondary ability that reads, on your opponent's turn, once per turn, when you activate an event, set up to one of your Dawn from your Dawn deck as active. So, breaking down that leader. If we have a Donquixote family member bigger than our leader, 6k plus, Sugar gets to restand a Dawn. Then, when we use that restanded Dawn to play an event, we ramp one active. So purple events that give us Dawn minus are basically being played for no additional cost, or red events that activate give us ramp to activate more red events. That's some pretty neat stuff. Note that it's a when you activate an event trigger, meaning you can even use it when you activate zero cost events, such as Bad Manners Kick Course or Gum Gum Jet Gatling, to go ahead and ramp yourself up. As such, our leader is promoting something very special in terms of event interaction, not really seen in the One Piece trading card game. So let's get to our card selection. Every deck's gotta have a searcher, and this deck is no exception. Our 1-cost 1k power Sugar is a tap-down searcher for 1 Dawn that allows us to search for a Donquixote Family pirate, including itself, and add it to our hand. And what might we be searching for? 3-cost 4k power Viola is a great blocker option that allows us to, on KO, Dawn -1. Provided our leader is a Donquixote pirate type, add up to 1 purple event card from your trash to your hand, which is great at picking up events we've used or events we've discarded. We'll revisit that point later. 5-cost 6k no counter Senior Pink has an on-play effect that allows us to Dawn -1 and add up to 1 purple event card with a cost of 5 or less from your trash to your hand. Then set up to one of your Dawn cards as active. So another event recursion character. Notably, we are able to forgo the event search and still add up to 1 active. So think of this card as a 4 cost to play rather than a 5 cost. Notably, when he hits the field, our Sugar leader's effect is also turned on, allowing us to have 2 Dawn open for events. Okay, so you'll notice we've been listing cards that have event recursion. Well, aside from using events as we normally would, and honestly using events early is the whole modus operandi of this deck, there are other ways we're getting rid of events too. Enter 5-cost 6k power 1k counter Donquixote Rocinante. Rocinante has an on-play ability, you may trash 1 event card from your hand, draw 2 cards, and a secondary ability that triggers at the end of your turn. If you have 7 or more Dawn cards, set up to 2 of them as active. Coupled with our Sugar leader, that's actually 3 Dawns set up as active. If you had 2 Rocinantes, yeah, those abilities stack, so that will be 2 from each Rocinante as active, plus the Sugar leader ability. 5 Dawn open in an event-heavy deck is absolutely no joke, but in case that wasn't enough, Donquixote Doflamingo is an 8-cost 9k power character with an on-play Dawn -1, play up to 1 5-cost or lower Donquixote Pirates type character from your hand. He also has an opponent's once per turn effect that allows him to rest one of your Dawn to ramp 1 active Dawn from your deck. Playing Doflamingo to multiplay Rocinante, who trashes 1 event to draw 2, then you get to set up 2 active Dawn on your opponent's turn. You get to play strong purple events that Dawn minus just to set back up your Doflamingo and your Sugar ability? Just call yourself Kaizoku cards the way you're shelling out Dawn. When it comes to 2Ks, we don't really need much, seeing as how we're going to be running a ton of events, which is fine because the only searchable 2Ks they give us in this set are Giola, who is a 2-cost 2k powered 2k counter, who, when opponents attack, once per turn you may rest 2 of your Dawn. Rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or lower. And Baby 5, a 3-cost 2k powered 2k counter with an on-play ability that lets us discard 1 card from our hand and ramp 1 Dawn as active, if our leader is Donquixote Pirates typed. Yeah, it's kind of crazy that they only have 2 2Ks from this set, but like I mentioned, we're running an arsenal of events. Purple events are known for having very strong effects and triggers at the cost of us going back a Dawn. But with our Sugar leader, we have access to those effects on parity. The tricky part is when we play those types of events in rapid succession. So we almost always want to lead with our counter first with a purple card to grant us that Dawn back, then a red event. Note, Sugar's ability to ramp Dawn only triggers once per turn, so event sequencing is pretty important depending on if you want to ramp or hard defend. So what events should we consider? Well, there's a whole slew of old events to consider, and a vast majority of them fall under the purview of playstyle, but they're also a lot more impactful if they're counters. Let's start off with OP10 cards. I can never forgive anyone who laughs at my family is a 1-cost main/counter that lets us look at the top 3 cards of our deck, reveal a Donquixote type other than this event, then place the rest at the bottom. If you open your game with this in hand, it's perfect. Great ramp target right out the gate. God Thread is a card that breaks my counter events are more impactful rule. With a 5-cost main that lets you KO up to one of your opponent's 5-cost or below characters, then ramp 1 active Dawn, it also has a trigger that lets you add 1 Dawn. Removal in this deck will be pretty good, and if you find you're past the point of being able to play it, it's also really good Rocinante fodder. Kamakura Jososhi is a 2-cost red counter event that lets us choose one of our leaders or characters and give them plus 3k power for the battle. Afterwards, one of our opponent's leaders or characters gets minus 2000 during this turn. Trigger, choose up to one of your leaders/characters, it gets plus 1000 during this turn. Being able to chump a character or leader for 2k for the turn after defending for a plus 3 for a 2-cost is great, and it's incredibly doable in this deck. And of course, Divine Departure. With its main effect, you can rest an additional 5 Dawn to KO one opponent's character with 8k power or less, or on counter, plus 3000 to a leader. An amazing 1-cost that could flex into a kill spell or Rocinante fodder if need be. As for the other events, and there's a ton, I won't go over in too much detail, but know their names and hold them for consideration. Gum Gum Red Hawk, Hell's Judgment, Slow Beam Sword, Gum Gum Jet Gatling, Underbagua, Ulti Mortar, and Blast Breath. Of course, you can always feel free to splash in other events that suit your liking, but I tend to think that the events that trigger to ramp a Dawn are a little bit more valuable. Also consider that Senior Pink only digs into our trash for purple events. Some more great option cards for rounding out the deck could be 4-cost Mr. 2 Bond Clay from EV01, 9-cost Luffy from OP09, OP07 Monkey D Dragon, and 10-cost OP09 Shanks. Okay, that was admittedly a lot of cards listed, but it just goes to show what sort of play options you have in this leader, and how you can personalize it to fit your own playstyle. But what's our major game plan? Well, that's simple. Play a ton of events early so you can fast ramp your way to 5 Dawn, at which point we'll need to either drop a Rocinante or Senior Pink to turn our leader effect on, and wait for the Doflamingo multiplays to start rolling out, cheating out Rocinantes. Of course, also the faster we ramp to 10, the faster we can play good red cards to pressure down our opponents. This deck is a ton of fun, and truly one of the most unconventional rampers, but it really does feel like we're just able to get so much Dawn so fast in a defensive way where we get to choose whether we want to take life or not. But be warned, this deck may sometimes hard lose into itself. The amount of events we put into this deck also dirties up our ability to find certain character cards, or worse, whiff those event cards when trying to search with our sugar. And as always, here are a couple of deck lists to help you get started. This deck placed first in a standard battle local tournament in Japan, while this deck is a brew of my own. And thank you to our members who had early access to this video and all of our videos up to 2 weeks early. So if you want to support our content and get other perks like Discord bonuses or priority queue for community submissions, click the join button below. And don't forget, we'll be streaming gameplay of all the new OP10 leaders, so if you want to catch that or find more One Piece content, check out the channel and subscribe.